What is going on, everybody? So I know I've been going for quite a long time. I haven't posted a video in a while. It's for a good reason. Lately I've been really busy with nursing school full time, and I also work full time in the ER as a PCT. So between those two things, I haven't really had time to post a YouTube video like I want to. But in the meantime, I got some updates for y'all. So one of the most recent updates is I definitely will be competing sometime around October and December. I don't have an exact meet date in mind, or an exact competition rather. I know at least for the blocks that me and my coach Dak got set up, that'll probably put us at the right time where we feel the most competitive. So we're gonna focus on that. Outside of that, I just fully launched my coaching business. Now, you guys can DM me or reach out to me on Instagram or fill out my form if you wanna inquire about any level of coaching, whether that be nutrition and lifestyle, powerlifting, even some bodybuilding stuff. We cover it all, but if you guys are interested, just shoot me a DM. You can look at the form that's in my bio for my Instagram right here, and then I'll get back to you when we can. Along with the coaching business, I dropped some comp tees that one of my friends of mine, Zaina, was so nice to cook up for me. It came out super dope, exactly the way I wanted. So you guys can also DM me in proper size if you want. I have all the way up to XL. I don't have that many. I do plan on doing a restock, but for right now, I got a pretty decent amount. So if you guys want to take a look. For today's workout, we have bench on the menu. We got some volume bench, and then we're gonna do a nice upper day. So we're gonna hit a little bit of everything, a little shoulders, a little arms, a little back, obviously some chest. So it should be a very fun day. It's gonna be my first time shooting with my boy Adam. Shout out Adam. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So I know a few of you are gonna ask me about it. A few of you already have asked me about it, about the shirt that I'm wearing right now. So this is my brand that I started with one of my best friends, Jordan. You can take a look at his page in the comments below. So we started this brand called Jrny, and it started off as just like a little joke. Not really a joke, but something that we always used to tell each other, when we would train, or when we take a look at each other's videos, or we're talking about just life in general. We always pride ourselves and talk about being on the journey and making sure that you pursue something, and just having good appreciation for your process and being on whatever journey it is. So whether that's you're a bodybuilder, you have aspirations for that, whether you're a powerlifter, you want to get strong, whether you want to be an engineer, whatever it is, just appreciate your journey, because that is what makes the entirety of your story. It's what gives it the oomph that it has. It's what gives it the flair. It's what makes it a story. It's what makes it worth telling and worth living. So eventually, one day I just hit him up and I was like, yo, why don't we just start a brand? Like, why don't we make it into something? And since then, for the past year, we've been taking a lot of time to properly curate it. And this is one of the shirts here. This is just our basic oversized tee. We got an embroidered Jrny on the front. And then on the back, we have one of the staple Jrny logos in the shape of a planet. So we don't have an exact release date for these just yet. We're anticipating sometime in the spring. This isn't gonna be the only piece either. I know we're looking at potentially like a hat, another variation of the shirt that's gonna be a little bit more cropped with a more waffle knit material. And then we're more towards the fall, we got some stuff too, like sweats, hoodies, and stuff like that. So we got a lot of stuff to look forward to. But I just wanted to give you guys an update about that, because I know you guys are gonna ask me. You can't get them just yet, but I promise, the wait that we have for these things are gonna be very worthwhile. We take a lot of time out to make sure that the material is right, the sizing is right. It's not just like a logo we slapped on the shirt. We're getting these handmade and very curated to what we want and how we want it to feel and how we want the people that wear our clothes to feel. Just be on the lookout for that. It could be any time in the next couple of months, so you definitely don't want to miss it. It'll always be a limited drop, so you're gonna have to get them while we have them. Or at least like across the board. Like, obviously we expend a lot of energy, like as powerlifters doing like our main compound movements. So, our squat, our bench, and our deadlift. We exert a lot of force, a lot of tension, and you accumulate a lot of fatigue. Most oftentimes, your average powerlifter, if it's not like their job to lift, they don't just eat, sleep, train, and lift. They have other stuff to do, or there's other stuff going on, so they have to allocate time to other things. Most times, you're gonna be quite decently fatigued after you do, like, let's say your primary squat and then you got some volume afterwards. Or let's say you did like a primary SBD and now you got accessories. You're gonna feel a decent amount of fatigue. What I've noticed is that with the accessory movement, at least on things that are like your primary work that take out a lot of effort out of you, especially with volume, you can afford to have fewer sets on your accessory movements as long as you're pretty intentional. Now, to break that down into like pretty short terms, let's say like on an average day, let's say you got like a pretty easy day's worth of bench, like 3 sets of 5, like I just did, or like 3 sets of 7. You can probably afford to take your accessory movements to maybe like 3 sets of this, 4 sets of that, if you really, if you feel like you got it, and it's what calls for, at least for your particular body type and physique and your goals. However, on days that may take a lot out of you, you can arguably probably get the same stimulus and same skill practice that you need for that particular muscle or movement with less sets. So with that, it would involve, like, for example, like right now, I'm gonna use this chest press variation. I just did bench. Obviously my chest is a little fatigued, my triceps are a little fatigued, but I'm still gonna get a lot out of this. So I'm gonna do this for about like 2 sets, maybe 12 to 15 reps. Second set, or the first set, I'll probably do till failure. What that's gonna do is allow me to give all I got into the 1 set and make it super, super, super quality. That way, like, I'm not gassing out and I'm just doing junk volume. I don't believe in doing junk volume. 4 sets of 12, 4 sets till failure sounds cool, but if you have no intention behind what you're doing, you're just wasting your time. You're just doing it just to do it, and you're not even hitting what you're trying to hit. So I would always opt that if you can do less sets and get a lot out of it, absolutely. But at the same time, training styles are super relative. Not everybody can train the same. Not everybody needs to train the same, and there's no right or wrong answer. I just know, at least for me, that this style worked. And for a lot of my athletes that have similar lifestyles where, they're balancing like work, regular life stuff, and then trying to train and be strong, it has usually always benefited them to have a little less accessory work, but making sure that every set is intentional. They still get big, they still get strong, and they still look good and feel good while they're doing it. So, proof is right. Take it all as I stumble and lose control. I was chasing nothing. Take it all for the soul that inside my soul. Watch it fade to nothing. I guess I'll take the time now to talk about why I started training. I never really dived deep into that. But since this is the first YouTube video back, this is probably a good opportunity to do so. So, for those of you that don't know, I come from a decent athletic background. I played football all my life, ran track in high school along with it. And football was like my main sport. Like a lot of people, in high school, during this time around like 2016, 2018, that's what made up a lot of our lives, is just sports. So, being like every other, 16, 17-year-old boy, like, who wouldn't want to go to the league? Who wouldn't want to go to the NFL, right? So that was my big dream. I was never really the best at anything, but all I had was like some work ethic and a dream. I took it as far as I could. I played one season, or not really one season. I played a little bit of college ball my freshman year at William Patterson, and it was fun. Like I got the experience that I wanted, but halfway through, like I just realized, one, I just wasn't that good, and two, I came to the hard realization that I love football, but it just wasn't something I was willing to give my entire life to in comparison to other things like I wanted to do. So I gave it up. And naturally, like a lot of athletes at some point in their lives when they give up their sport, when we lose something that big, that's part of our lives for such a long time. Now we're stuck trying to figure out like what's gonna fill that void or what's gonna take up that time now. So for a while, like, I went to the gym here and there, but I didn't really have a goal. Like I just did it like just cause, I didn't want to get fat. And at the time, like I was maybe like 170 pounds, maybe 160 pounds, like soaking wet. Not big at all. So when I came back home from college, after not dorming anymore, that's when COVID happened. And obviously nobody was going to the gym, or very, very few people were going to the gym at that time. So I got a little chubby. I got up to maybe like 180 pounds, but I was like skinny fat. I wasn't going to the gym really like that to begin with, and COVID kind of just made it worse. So after that happened, I made a mission that when the gyms open back up, that I would start going again and then have fun and get my body right. And that's exactly what I did. I got back into the gym, and then around this time is when like fitness started to get like really cool, really popular. So there were a couple of influencers I followed, and I kind of just like did what they did. Specifically, like I used to watch this guy, Jack the Italian, or Marcos Spaciano, I think his last name is. If I'm butchering that, I apologize. And I used to watch his videos on like what to eat to gain muscle, like what to eat to lose weight, stuff like that. And then from there, like I just modeled my entire training split off of that. I just did whatever workouts he did and went to the gym and just waited for the results to come. So pick up where I left off. So after a while, I got some pretty decent results in the gym. I got super lean. I had my body looking the best it ever has before. I was very confident, and it became like a pretty big focal point in my life. At this point, like I wasn't like posting or anything, but I just went to the gym because I just was obsessed with getting better, and I wanted to exhaust, how much I can maximize the potential of my physique. And I was just curious, it was all new to me, so it was very easy for me to get like infatuated with it and make it a part of my lifestyle. Eventually, I met my brother, one of my best friends, Kyle, and I saw him in the gym. He was deadlifting. He was like sumo deadlifting. So I went up to him, and I was like, yo, like what are you doing? Like, why are you doing it like that? Coming from a football background, like, we weren't doing shit like that. We were doing like trap bar deadlifts, snatch and cleans, like shit like that. So I went up to him, I talked to him about it, and then he told me about like powerlifting, which I kind of, like most people, loosely like kind of know about it in passing, but I didn't know about like the intricacies of the sport. So from there, like, we exchanged information, and we talked, and he it piqued my interest a pretty decent amount in the sport. And then over time, like, when I would see him in the gym, I would be very intrigued about, him being so strong in comparison to me. So one day I was like, you know what, like, I want to train like you for like a couple weeks and then like max out and then see like how strong I am. So with barely any form, barely any know-how what I was doing, I maxed out one week, and I think my best squat was like 315 for one rep. On bench, it was like 175 for one rep. And I think my first go-around of deadlift, I got 425, which isn't bad. For like an 160-pound guy, that's not bad, especially like first starting out. So from there, it kind of just like took off. After that, we slowly but surely moved away from the little small commercial gym we were at, and we eventually moved to a more powerlifting specific gym, Adelante Barbell Club. Shout out to them. It's the first home gym. That's the first spot. Those who know about Adelante and the vibes that were there when we were going. So we started going there, and then we started realizing, like, you know, what we were in comparison to like the other lifters that, you know, we knew. And now at this point, this is when like powerlifting and just fitness in general like started to get like really big. So, you know, we started to see a lot more like big names in the fitness space, just in our general area. We realized how strong they were. And that was something that we wanted for ourselves. And for me, you know, eventually powerlifting became like this test of like how great I could be. How far could I push myself? You know, how could I get this little small town kid, you know, that, you know, wasn't really the best at anything, wasn't really known for anything. How could I get him to stardom? How could I make him be somebody, to be an example of, you know, somebody that came from nothing and turned into something? And that's what powerlifting became for me, and that's what ultimately like fitness became for me. So over the last like 3 to 4 years, I've dedicated a pretty decent part of my life to powerlifting. Obviously, there were some really high highs, and there were some lows, of course. But nonetheless, you know, it's been a journey that I wouldn't trade for the world. And it's been great. You know, I've gotten stronger. I know where I am relative to the people around me. And most importantly, you know, now that I've been in it for a little while, I know what it's going to take in order for me to get where I want to go and to be the kind of lifter that I aspire to be. And most importantly, to be the kind of man and person that my peers and, you know, those of you who follow me or follow me in the future will be able to look at and be like, damn, like, I could do that too. Or damn, like, maybe I could do better than him. Which is ultimately like what I want. You know, coming from where I'm from, right here in East Orange, New Jersey, like, not a lot of people do stuff. I mean, we have like, you know, our decent amount of people that made out and made something of themselves, whether that be in football, basketball, acting, or music in general. But across the board, you know, like, I kind of want to be one of the first people that are doing what I'm doing right now from where I'm from, to pioneer like a whole wave of people, you know, pioneer a whole wave of kids that, you know, may not be so inclined in sports or may not be so inclined in academics. You know, they can have an outlet and be able to use it for something that could not only benefit their mental, benefit others. And then, you know, God willing, along the way, you know, you'll be able to make some money off of it. Obviously, we would all love to just make some money off of it, right? So that's pretty much my story and how I got started with it. It's a little bit of a longer story, but it's pretty worth it. By the end, you know, we'll be able to look back on these videos and think like, wow, we came so far. So that's the end of the video. We got a good session in. This morning I got off of work at 7 a.m. So I had like 4 hours of sleep, but nonetheless, it was still a very good workout. So thank you guys for watching. I always appreciate you guys that tune in, and even though like my videos are so far in between, you guys still tune in and watch when I do post. I really appreciate that. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram and TikTok for more updates on everything, whether that be nutrition, my businesses, or just like my overall lifestyle. If you guys want to keep up more with what I'm doing, my TikTok and my Instagram are going to be the best places for you guys to keep up with me. Other than that, be well, eat well, stay strong. See you guys later.